Today we're talking about getting from this to this. It might not be your bag, but if it is, strap in. Welcome to the wonderful world of converters. Now, converters have been around a long time. They are not the most exciting bit of kit you've ever seen. However, they do one job and they do it most of the time pretty well. Anyway, we carry loads of these things and normally don't talk about them because quite frankly, it's pretty boring. However, along the way, I came across a stat fairly recently, which was that nearly half of all converters sold are actual replacement converters. Converters do convert, but they're not designed for the hardest life. For example, we'll take these things. These are about $30 or so on Amazon, and it's about $30 worth of converter. They're not great. The actual HDMI socket that's in there is just soldered to the board, and there's nothing on the housing holding it. So if we plug an HDMI into there, wiggle it about a bit, trip over it or whatever else, that will eventually come away from its PCB and won't work. Similarly, the same thing goes for the SDI socket. Again, it looks quite nice as it comes out, but it's really only held in by a few bits of solder. But they're cheap and cheerful, and that's what they do. Moving on, we have the Blackmagic, which these are probably the go-to across many people. These are a bit bigger, a bit beefier, and they're nicely put together. That's not really important. They will eventually fail for the same reasons, that the SDI socket isn't supported as well as it might be. There is a further problem when it comes to converters, and that is this: the mass of cheap power supplies for them. Generally speaking, these things are pretty cheap and they don't last that long. They all do the same thing, convert 110 or 240 to 5 volts that's needed at the other end. There are various different types. Well, you get the idea. But all in, to convert a simple SDI to HDMI or vice versa, or if we want to go fiber, then we're going to need either a plethora of or a conglomerate of all of these things, which I've always found to be frustrating. Enter Theatrixx. Now, that's massive, I hear you say. Yes, it is. It's actually very heavy as well. And I know converters aren't the sexiest tool, but it is one of those utility things that if it lets you down, you know about it, and generally you can't get out of it. So, Digibox sent these to us, which are made by a company called Theatrixx, and they are basically a Hulk version of an SDI to HDMI converter. There is also an SDI distro, and the other way around, HDMI to SDI. Well, I got those wrong, but you get the idea. These look overkill because they are overkill. We've been testing them now for a little while, and I have to say, despite the fact that they are sizably larger than the standard version of these converters, they are really quite good. Let me go through some of the things that they've thought about on here. So let's get rid of those. These converters are made of 6.5mm aluminium plate, top and bottom. We have thrown these down the stairs. Sorry, Digibox. They put up with it very well. They are practically indestructible. Similarly, all the inputs and outputs, you can see, don't stick out of the unit at all, as they do on here. So let's say we've got an SDI cable. It's not going to take much for that to snap, bend, break. On here, you couldn't. Well, they don't stick out. That's pretty good. There's also these holes, as you can see. This is for mounting it to more or less anything. Generally, our adapters will have Velcro, although I can't see one with Velcro at the moment, and they're cable tied up by the cables. Furthermore, these have locking HDMI ports, which is good, and they're not powered by the measly adapter thing. They are powered by industry standard PowerCon, which is good news. If you're going to rig these up onto a stage or something, chances are there will be some of these here. It has got PowerCon in, which is to say, when I can get it in, that's what she said, they don't come out. This is a locking connector and it's really quite good. Furthermore, there is a power supply in this, so you can send another PowerCon out of this end, a loop to connect to another one. They've gone a little bit further than that as well by adding extra mounting points. There's an M10 socket up top or at the bottom, depending on which way you want to put it, that you can attach standard lighting truss mounts to as well. So this is really a solid bit of kit. Now, I do realise that this probably isn't for your average freelance cameraman. This is more for AV houses, equipment hire, theatre companies, but you could give this to the apprentice and they would not break it. There is a nice little thing that I quite like as well. If I put it on the table there, it's actually pretty grippy. It's got a rubber pad on the back. As well as that, these rubber pads are magnetic, so you can stack these things up, stick them to the side of a bit of steel truss, and you're away. And you can keep going. So, I'll go through some of the models very briefly that are available. I think I said earlier, HDMI to SDI, SDI to the other way, and SDI distribution. This is 1 in, 4 out with all signal repeaters and all the rest of it. These things do in fact they do everything that a standard converter you would expect them to do. There are no dip switches either. It will smart figure out what you're putting into it and feed the equivalent out the other side. That is more or less it. But we have had them for 4 months and I've been really, really impressed with them. They do a whole range of other converters. You can go from fibre and from whatever else you like as well. So we'll put some links below there. Thanks to Digibox for sending us this stuff. And do check them out on their website. That's it for now. If you like anything you've seen or you want us to have a look at something that we haven't yet, please do let me know. Subscribe, links below, all of that stuff. Peace.